Hello friends. Why is it so difficult to beat cancer? Despite our triumphs in harnessing electricity, creating artificial intelligence, sequencing the human genome, and eliminating smallpox, the persistent challenge of finding a remedy for cancer persists. Billions of dollars have been poured into research, yet we still struggle to discover a definitive solution for a disease that afflicts over 14 million individuals and their families at any given moment. Deep within our bodies, our immune system silently performs the remarkable feat of eliminating our own cells that have the potential to turn into cancer, thereby safeguarding our existence. This process occurs regularly, with the vast majority of cancerous cells being eradicated without us even realizing it. However, if our immune system is consistently successful in this task, how does cancer manage to escalate into a life-threatening condition? Let's explore this in today's video. What is cancer? Cancer is characterized by the uncontrolled division of corrupted cells within the body. It can arise from various cell types, resulting in the existence of numerous types of cancer, numbering in the hundreds. These cancers exhibit diverse characteristics, ranging from slow growth to aggressive behavior, with some being effectively treatable while others prove deadly. In a fascinating sense, when a cell undergoes cancerous transformation, it embodies both something ancient and something novel. Over billions of years, the process of evolution shaped cells to survive and flourish amidst a hostile environment, where they fiercely competed for space and resources. Eventually, a groundbreaking form of existence emerged, which is cooperation. This cooperative behavior allowed cells to specialize and collaborate, leading to enhanced success as a collective. However, cooperation necessitates sacrifices. For a multicellular organism to maintain its well-being, the welfare of the collective must take precedence over the survival of individual cells. Cancer cells deviate from this cooperative framework and revert to individualistic behavior. While the body can handle a few rogue cells, certain cancer cells incessantly divide, giving rise to a new entity within the host. These cancerous cells seize vital resources required for survival, compete for the occupied space, and in the process, inflict damage upon the organs they once belonged to. Cells can be seen as protein robots that dutifully follow their programmed instructions, but unfortunately, their programming can become corrupted. Within the nucleus of our cells lies DNA, containing genes that serve as blueprints for building proteins and determining their timing of production. These genetic instructions are copied and transferred to ribosomes, where they orchestrate the synthesis of proteins. The types of proteins produced by cells dictate their functionalities. Our DNA experiences tiny but frequent changes called mutations, occurring tens of thousands of times each day, often without any specific cause other than the act of being alive. Sometimes during mutations, the DNA becomes corrupted, but the majority of these mutations are swiftly repaired or pose no significant issues. However, over time, as cells continue to replicate themselves, accumulated damage becomes apparent. Imagine repeatedly making copies of copies for decades, where the occasional error or imperfection may arise, such as a hair on the scanner or a frayed corner. Each new mistake becomes incorporated into subsequent copies, contributing to the overall damage. Various factors can amplify DNA damage, such as smoking, excessive alcohol consumption, obesity, exposure to asbestos, lack of sunscreen usage, or contracting certain viruses like HPV. To initiate the development of cancer, 3 categories of genes must experience mutations. The first crucial mutation involves the tumor suppressor genes, TSGs, aptly named as they produce control mechanisms that continuously monitor DNA for errors and promptly repair them. Additionally, TSGs prevent normal cells from multiplying recklessly. If TSGs become damaged, cells essentially lose their ability to repair themselves and can multiply unchecked. The second vital mutation can occur in oncogenes. These genes become highly active during rapid cell multiplication, such as during fetal development inside the mother's womb. However, oncogenes are normally turned off once sufficient growth is achieved. When these genes become corrupted, they can inappropriately reactivate, leading to uncontrolled cell division. The third critical mutation involves the genes responsible for a cell's suicide switch. In normal circumstances, cells that accumulate excessive damage typically undergo a controlled self-destruction process known as apoptosis. This allows for constant recycling and renewal of cells. However, if the genes regulating this process become damaged, cells can persist and continue to survive despite being dangerously corrupted. When a cell loses its ability to repair genetic mistakes, evade self-destruction, and begins proliferating rapidly without restraint, it transforms into an early cancer cell. We have learned how cancer cells form, but it is reassuring to know that our immune system is strong enough to eliminate these cancerous cells as long as they are at their early stages. At any given moment, our immune system diligently hunts down these cells. However, how does our immune system recognize and destroy corrupted cells that appear identical to healthy ones? This brings us back to the proteins produced by our cells and the story they convey. For instance, if oncogenes are reactivated, they produce oncogene proteins. Your immune system recognizes that these proteins should not be present in an adult body. To distinguish between corrupted and healthy cells, your immune system requires knowledge of the proteins being produced inside them. Evolution devised MHC class I molecules, acting as display windows that render cells transparent. Cells continually sample the proteins they produce and present them in thousands of these MHC molecules to showcase their activities. This dynamic selection is consistently refreshed, providing an up-to-date picture. Within the immune system's vast repository, there is an extensive library of highly dangerous proteins that healthy cells should not produce, and specialized T cells have the ability to recognize specific proteins. When a T cell encounters a forbidden protein displayed in an MHC window, it recognizes the cell as corrupted and promptly eliminates it. However, there is a flaw in this system. What if a cancer cell mutates and finds a way to evade this process? By ceasing to produce MHC class I molecules, the cancer cell becomes invisible. Without the display windows, the immune system is rendered blind and can no longer identify the cancerous cells. Fortunately, evolution found a remarkable solution: the natural killer cell. This cell acts as a judge, jury, and executioner, the ultimate killer. Presently, hundreds of millions of natural killer cells patrol your body, searching for cells that have already transformed into cancer or have been corrupted by a virus. Natural killer cells assess one critical factor: the presence of MHC class I molecules. They determine whether a cell has a display window fulfilling its duty of showcasing its internal processes. This is remarkable because it covers all bases. While T cells seek the unexpected presence of proteins, which should not be there, natural killer cells search for the absence of the expected, the absence of something that should be present. The logic is simple: if a cell lacks display windows, it intends to hide something, and such a cell must be eliminated. What makes the natural killer cell even more fascinating is its constant murder mode. It patrols our body, meticulously inspecting cell after cell with the intent to kill. Our healthy cells must convince the natural killer cell that they should not be destroyed, and the presence of MHC molecules serves as a convincing signal. In summary, the majority of young cancer cells we may develop throughout your life will be eliminated by our immune system. However, if our bodies are equipped with such sophisticated defense mechanisms, why do we still experience cancer? The answer is straightforward. There are instances where a corrupted cell evades detection by our immune system, allowing it to multiply unchecked over a span of weeks. One cell multiplies into dozens, hundreds, and eventually thousands. Some cells undergo mutations that weaken them, while others remain unchanged, and a few become stronger and better adapted for survival. Together, they form a minuscule tumor, not yet cancerous, but heading in that direction. As the tumor grows, it demands an abundance of resources, and if the cells are deprived of nourishment and oxygen, they will perish, resolving the issue on its own. Unfortunately, a few corrupted cells acquire a new mutation that enables them to stimulate the growth of new blood vessels, thereby securing the supply they need to survive. However, as the tumor continues to expand, it starts inflicting damage. Healthy neighboring cells begin to starve and die, drawing attention to the problem. In a way, this small tumor resembles a rebellious town. Picture a group of dissidents in Brooklyn deciding to establish a separate settlement called Tumor Town within the same space as New York City. The new city strives to expand, ordering vast quantities of construction materials such as steel beams, cement, and drywall. The new buildings lack logic, are poorly planned, and structurally unsound. They are constructed right in the middle of streets, on top of playgrounds, and over existing infrastructure. The old neighborhood is demolished or overcrowded to make way for the new structures, leaving many former residents trapped and starving. This situation continues until the scent of death attracts attention. Building inspectors and law enforcement arrive on the scene. Within our body, the stench of deceased cells triggers the activation of our immune system. By the time they intervene, the tumor has grown to hundreds of thousands of cells, but the tide is about to turn. T cells obstruct the growth of new blood vessels, depriving thousands of tumor cells of their lifeline and halting their expansion. It's as if the building inspectors shut off electricity and water supply, erecting roadblocks to Tumor Town to prevent further delivery of resources. With no means to conceal the unfolding carnage, the tumor collapses as hundreds of thousands of its cells are mercilessly eradicated. Their remains are cleared and consumed by macrophages, which then stimulate the regeneration of healthy tissue. Our body has ruthlessly crushed the illicit Tumor Town, leaving no mercy in its wake. However, the forces of natural selection can undermine our victory as the fittest among the cells survives and undergoes further mutations. This cell originates from the strongest tumor lineage and proved to be slightly more adept at surviving the previous massacre than its counterparts. It decides to embark on the process once again, but this time with improved capabilities. This tumor cell possesses greater strength than any of the thousands that were eliminated. It may excel in hiding, fighting back, growing faster, or more efficiently acquiring resources. It might even adapt to survive with minimal oxygen. Thus, the cycle begins anew. It's akin to the surviving rebels of Tumor Town having learned valuable lessons. They have become more knowledgeable about the law, how to circumvent it, which permits aid their cause, and how to elude law enforcement. Consequently, the surviving tumor cell replicates itself thousands of times, giving rise to new lineages through mutations, ultimately resulting in the growth of a tumor composed of more resilient cells. Once again, our immune system is activated, and tumor cells are eliminated. However, some cells may manage to survive this encounter, and this struggle repeats itself incessantly. If at any point the immune system successfully eradicates all the tumor cells, the story comes to an end. Regrettably, this is not always the case. Eventually, a tumor cell undergoes changes that render it significantly more perilous, cancerous. Immune cells possess a built-in mechanism to deactivate themselves before launching an attack, which, in principle, serves as a safety precaution. The immune system, while crucial, can be highly potent and occasionally requires suppression, particularly around delicate areas such as the central nervous system. However, this off switch can be exploited by mutated tumor cells, which find a way to disable the immune system by targeting inhibitor receptors on anti-cancer cells. Inhibitor receptors function to restrain immune cells from engaging in their destructive functions. This mutated cell becomes the influential progenitor of a new lineage of cancer cells, rapidly reproducing thousands of copies that continue to mutate and evolve. Another Tumor Town emerges as a result. This time, the higher authorities of Tumor Town manage to sway the higher authorities of New York in bending the laws in their favor. The new cancer cells have acquired immunity against the immune system, creating a distinct and altered environment. The cancer cells actively disrupt immune defenses by sending corrupt signals. The malignant tumor transforms into the cancer microenvironment, a fortified borderland that is difficult to breach. All avenues of attack are effectively shut down, leading to uncontrolled growth. The police cease to function, laws no longer hold sway, and gradually, the Tumor Town takes over the entire Brooklyn and, ultimately, New York. This is precisely what makes cancer so dangerous. It occupies space and consumes an excessive amount of nutrients, leaving little room for the healthy functioning of the host. Prolonged progression of this state can result in organ failure. However, this tactic is a dead end. The more successful the cancer becomes, the more damage it inflicts upon its own environment. When the body succumbs, the cancer also perishes. It truly is a game without winners until humanity is determined to emerge victorious from this game. Currently, hundreds of thousands of scientists are diligently working on new and improved methods to combat cancer, aiming to eradicate and obliterate tumor towns for good. In recent years, immunotherapy has made tremendous strides. This relatively new therapeutic approach involves modifying a person's own immune cells to enhance their ability to target and destroy cancer cells, surpassing the effectiveness of traditional medicines. But this is a story for another time. For now, cancer remains a battleground. However, if human ingenuity is to be relied upon, it is hopeful that one day, perhaps not too far in the future, cancer will be eradicated once and for all. I hope you found this episode informative. If you did, I kindly request you to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I would love to hear your suggestions for future video topics in the comments section below. Thank you sincerely for your support. We will meet again very soon, but in the meantime, please feel free to explore my other videos. Goodbye.